The American Revolution was an epoch-making political and military struggle through which 13 of Great Britain's North American colonies rejected British monarchical rule, overthrew its authority, and founded the sovereign nation of the United States of America. It was a conflict born not only of taxes and laws, but of a deep philosophical schism over the nature of representation, liberty, and self-governance. The Seeds of Conflict, 1763 to 1775. The revolution did not erupt spontaneously. It was the culmination of over a decade of escalating tensions following Britain's victory in the French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763, known globally as the 7 Years' War. Salutary neglect and post-war debt. For much of the 18th century, Britain had followed a policy of salutary neglect toward its American colonies, allowing them a high degree of political and economic autonomy. Colonial assemblies operated largely independent of Parliament, managing their own internal affairs and fostering a spirit of self-reliance and local republicanism. The French and Indian War, while securing a vast new territory for the British Empire, left the Crown with a massive debt. King George III and Parliament felt the colonists, who had benefited greatly from the war's outcome, the removal of the French threat, should shoulder some of the financial burden for their own defense. This shift from neglect to direct control marked the beginning of the end for the old colonial relationship. The taxation crisis. No taxation without representation. The primary catalyst for the rebellion was a series of taxes and acts passed by the British Parliament, which the colonists viewed as a violation of their rights as Englishmen. The rallying cry became "no taxation without representation," based on the argument that since the colonies had no right to levy taxes upon them. The Stamp Act 1765 was the first direct tax on the colonists, requiring them to purchase special stamped paper for virtually every legal document, pamphlet, and newspaper. The act provoked widespread, organized protest, leading to the formation of groups like the Sons of Liberty, and the convening of this was so effective that Parliament repealed the act in 1766, but simultaneously passed the Declaratory Act, asserting its absolute right to legislate for the colonies in all cases whatsoever. The Townshend Acts, 1767. These acts imposed duties on imported goods like glass, lead, paper, and tea. To enforce these acts and maintain order, British troops were deployed to colonial cities, most notably Boston, leading to increased friction. The Boston Massacre, 1770. A deadly confrontation between British soldiers and a crowd of colonists in Boston resulted in the deaths of 5 civilians. Though quickly sensationalized by patriot leaders like Paul Revere and Samuel Adams, the event galvanized anti-British sentiment. The Tea Act and the Boston Tea Party, 1773. To save the struggling British East India Company, the Tea Act granted it a monopoly on tea sales in the colonies, effectively undercutting colonial merchants. In protest, the Sons of Liberty, disguised as Native Americans, famously boarded ships in Boston Harbor and dumped 342 chests of tea into the sea. The Intolerable Acts, 1774. London's response to the Tea Party was severe. These punitive measures, known by the colonists as the Coercive Acts, closed Boston Harbor, curtailed the power of the Massachusetts Colonial Assembly, and provided for the quartering of British troops in private homes. Rather than isolating Massachusetts, the acts united the colonies in support of their besieged neighbor.